Hey guys, welcome back to the shack. Tonight I'm gonna go over the latest innovations that I have passed along to the longer B1. And I'm gonna show you guys a project that I did tonight just to kind of let the machine flex a little bit and show you guys what it actually is capable of. I will tell you this, guys, after using the machine for several days, doing several jobs on the machine, I have decided that temporarily, until something better comes along, the longer B1, this is a 30 watt model, will be holding down a position in one of my enclosures on the main assembly up here. So thanks to Longer for sending the machine out to me. It's actually turned out to be a pretty valuable tool. There are a few tweaks that need to be done to the machine in my mind, from my perspective, to make what is a good machine a really great machine. And I'm gonna go over those things with you in the video and show you some of the test results, and got a little project that I've done that I'm gonna share with you. So if that's something you're into, stick around. We'll be right back. All right, guys, some of you may be familiar with my secondary enclosure here. I've got two of them. I've got the really large machine back there, which currently houses my 8 or 20 watt extended. And then I've got this enclosure here, which for now contains the Longer. This is a Longer B1, the 30 watt model. The big obvious thing about the machine that I like the most, and this is something to me that is more important than output, it is more important than speed, is the size of the chassis. Because with the size of the chassis means you can do bigger projects, even if they take a little bit longer, bigger projects, you can kind of get a little more versatile in what you're doing. Instead of being able to do 14-inch square circular cutouts, now you can do 16-inch circular cutouts. It just opens up doors for you as far as the amount of projects that you can do. If somebody calls and requests a certain project, most of the time you could do those projects if you had less power or if your machine didn't travel as fast, but because of size limitations, you can't always do them. So to me, the most important factor in a machine is workbed size. And with this guy coming in at 450 by 440, it is currently the largest square-bodied machine in my shop. It has more workspace than any other machine that I have here. You know, I'm a big fan of Acer, but that was the reason, guys, was because it came 430 by 430 out of the box. I extended mine to 850 by 430, which was a total game changer. And to be honest with you, if tomorrow I found out there were extensions for the Longer to make it 850 by 450 or whatever it is, I would be ordering them, and it would be going over into my other enclosure. So just to give you an idea of what I think about the machine. Okay, so work area is definitely a plus. Power output is a plus. But even with 30 watts of power, guys, the spot size on this machine is very doable for any projects that I may do. I'm not going to say that it's going to compete with some of the 5 watt machines as far as artistic creations and like photorealistic stuff goes. But for the projects that I do, I'm not worried about that kind of resolution. I do plaques on boards and stuff like that. And from what I've seen with the machine so far, it's more than capable of doing those as well as any other machine that's in the shop. So that wasn't a big concern. Also, one of the things that I like that they've did with the machine is the cable management is pretty clean. I mean, there is some room for improvement with the little Velcro straps here. I would have rather seen some either maybe plastic solid straps or maybe some metal straps to hold this still. But so far, the Velcro, it works. Cable management, other than that, it works really well. The way they've got a lot of the cables are inside the chassis. I think that gives it a more clean, sleek look. It also prevents those mishaps from damaging cables when you're getting materials in and out or anything like that, accidentally pinching a cable. I think that's a good thing. The construction and the way that they have brought everything up as close as they could to the bottom of the frame, I like this because when you're working with larger material, you can actually have your material spill over. I want to show you this from a project here, but you can have your material spill over to the left and the right of the machine, and it's almost like having a pass-through on the machine. You have a pretty significant amount of height right here, probably close to an inch before it starts getting tight. So if you had a pass through from right to left on this machine, on your enclosure, you could actually use it that way. Now, front to back, you still have a pretty good a bit of clearance, but to me, the right and left, you've got just a wider area because of the controller up front. So I like that feature. A lot of the machines, they want to try to get them too low to the ground, and it limits you. They've already got a small work area, but now you're limited because you can't have your material wider than the machine. But with this machine and it sitting flat in my enclosure, I could actually manipulate this material and push it to the right, left, front, or back. And this is like a 3/4 inch material. So that was one of the other things that I like about the machine. But on the downside, guys, I'm going to go ahead and say it longer. I apologize, but it's true. The air assist nozzle that the machine ships with, the hole in the end of the air assist nozzle is way oversized for what it needs to be. So my friend Ventari over at Ventari's Workshop, he found out a cheat and a hack, so to speak, by putting some blue tape over the hole and then allowing the laser to just burn a hole through it. It improves the effectiveness of the air assist. Now, that's not ideal, but it did work for Steve, and he got a lot better results with the air assist. I've did similar testing with the machine using the stock pump that came with it, as well as using my shop air. And no matter how much air pressure I threw at it, I was still getting a lot of charring around the burn, and it all come back to the fact that the hole in the air assist nozzle was probably about 5 times as big as it needed to be. So I didn't want to go with the tape approach. So what I wound up doing is I have a 10-watt machine that I have retired that I don't use anymore. And so I pulled the air assist nozzle off of it that I had that came with an air assist kit that I had bought, put it on this machine, and it works fabulous. Whether I use the factory pump that came with it or whether I use the shop air, I'm now getting the results that I wanted to out of an air assist. And I'm gonna go over some of the testing and stuff, and I'll show you what the cuts are looking like now. There was a lot of charring, like I said before, but the problem is when you have especially with the factory pump, it can't generate enough air with that large of a hole to create enough pressure as it exits to really be effective. The hole in the end of the nozzle is almost as big as the hole running through the core of the pipe, and so it's not pressurizing that air as it comes out at the air assist nozzle. I've got mine set up, and that's another thing. They have it where this machine will actually control your air assist using the pump that it comes with, but since I run shop air, I had no need for that. What I did do, and I'll get you in there where you can see a little closer picture of it, is I took the cable that came with their air assist and connected it to my M8 relay, which is in my enclosure. And so now the machine activates my M8 relay, which activates my shop air. And I'm running 10 PSI to the regulator, which dictates to a lot more pressure coming out of the air assist nozzle, especially with that smaller hole size in the end of the nozzle. So I'm getting some really, really good cuts. All right, guys, while I've got you in here, I want to point out 2 things. First of all, you can see here, looking at the module, I have modified the module in both the fact that I took the shield off of it and I have replaced the air assist cone with a cone designed for X-Tool D1. But this is the nozzle that I've replaced on here, and I did take the shield off to get it out of the way. Now, in doing so, I had to create myself a focusing tool, which lines up along the edge of the machine, and you touch it to the material, and that's how I'm setting the focus, because the leg was actually attached to the shield that came off of here. So if you do choose to remove the safety shield, then that is something that you're going to want to consider, is you're going to need a focusing tool. And the way that I built this focusing tool, guys, is I took the shield, I flipped the leg down, measured the distance between the bottom edge of this and the bottom of that foot that was flipped down, and basically you can just create a block, or in this case like a little spoon type thing, to where you can put it alongside the machine, lower it down till it touches, and that's your focus. So if you do that, and that's your decision, then that's how you would develop yourself a focusing tool. But back to the air assist relay system. As you can see here, I just took and cut the connector off of the air assist pump and took and wired it and connected it to the main machine here, the main relay inside my enclosure. This is the M8 relay that I've had for quite a while, and I've got it connected through. This is the intake line from the actual regulator outside the box, and then I've got my output going into the machine. And I'll kind of show you how that works right quick. We'll just run if I can get it turned back on. All right, updating my camera overlay. I have got my camera set on it. I'm using my standard fisheye camera that I pretty much went to for everything now. Let me move this over here and kind of frame where I'm going to be putting the cut, and you get to see my actual focusing tool at work, guys. So the way my little focusing tool works is you just hold it against the bottom of the machine there, bottom of the module, lower it down. It can basically rest on that little spacer, tighten the screw back up, and then the way that I like to remove it to avoid messing up any material or anything is just kind of push it away and that'll fall back. That way you don't have to worry about moving your material or anything like that. So I'm going to rehome the machine. Let me grab some glasses here. I do have this set to a cut, and there's a relay. On that relay, if you'll pay attention closely, you will see a really faint light that will come on when the air assist is activated. So I'm going to run this at 12 millimeters a second, 100% output, and I will be running air assist. So if you'll watch right here, guys, you'll see a red light come on inside that relay. When the machine tells it to activate the air assist, the indicator will come on and the air will go that way. So here we go. The machine is a bit noisy, but that's not a bad thing if you're using an enclosure. And guys, there's the cut, 12 millimeters a second, 100% output, and it's just like literally binded in the hole. Clean cuts, as you can see. And if you don't want to take my word for it, guys, you can go look at some of the other videos. Check out no charring whatsoever. I've got a clean cut on the front. Can't even tell it was cut with a laser, and clean cut on the back. The edges of the material, as you can see, it's a little dark the way I've got my camera set up, but the material is more of a golden brown than it is the black, which means that most of my soot and residue is being pushed out of the cut, and that's what I go for. All right, guys, so I just want to go over a few of the cuts and stuff that I've done since I made the modifications to the machine. I did do a short video on assembling the machine and some light testing when I first got it, but immediately following that video, I knew what the few limitations of this machine were, and I got to work to address those and had to do a little bit of wiring and stuff, but I've got it now to where I'm feeling really, really good about the way the machine operates. So I'm going to show you some of this. This is some of the results that I've had, and let me get over here where I can kind of show you what's going on. So I played around with the focus because I wanted to make sure that I was at the optimal focus with the machine, and that's what you can see the focus steps that I took here. This is focus raised up 2 millimeters, focus at 0, focus at -2. I couldn't believe the results because normally when you drop the focus into the material, you would have better results. I was a little caught off guard and thought maybe I did something wrong. So I recreated the test and ran it again with the focus dropped 2 millimeters, and this is what I got. So obviously this machine does not like the focus being dropped on this thin of a material. So I went back and went back to focus 0, and there we go. And this is all of these are running air assist. So my focus point that I've selected, I think is a pretty good focus. Now, I could do a lot more extensive testing and maybe get a little better cutting out of it based on focus, but using my tool, that's what I was able to get. All right, so I also went ahead and did some variant shade testing with the machine. Now, because this is a very hot 30-watt machine, even up to 300 millimeters a second, it was still browning all the way across. I kind of wanted to get a little bit more of a fade to it to try to get some lighter colors. And so I went ahead and ran my test for 300 to 800 millimeters per second. The things that I wanted to test on the machine, of course, was repeatability and accuracy. Now, keep in mind with this circle, there's going to be a little bit of a bobble, and I haven't really went over this machine and adjusted it to where it's perfect. I assembled it, tensioned everything to where it would operate, and that's where I've left it. I've got a little bit of squiggling up here on kind of the northeast corner of this circle. So I'm going to have to go back and maybe do some fine tuning on those. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think that's going to be enough jitter to cause a problem. You can see here with the squares, it did perfect with the squares, no overlapping. There's no, all these lines are equally the distance apart they're supposed to be, and they're all shaped like a square. Another test that I like to do on these machines is I do a 10 pass. This is a 10 pass box. Now, the only difference is each time this box is burned, it gets up 2 millimeters shorter. So you start out here and then it goes down, 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 all the way until it makes 10 passes. The object of this is to see if these two lines right here, and you can see those two lines right there, to make sure that every time it draws that box, it draws it on that same line. If the machine was not maintaining its consistency, if it was losing steps, if it was moving on me, I would be able to see more than one line right here on the sides of the box. This is normal. This is in the file design just so that you can see that it is a 10 pass burn, but this is what I gauge by right here. If this line starts getting really wide, or if this line has a shadow or whatever the case may be, then I know that the machine is not maintaining accuracy as it makes those squares. It's moving over further and further, or moving in further and further. So, all right, guys. So through all the testing, considering that I haven't really spent a lot of time trying to fine tune this machine, I was really impressed with the results. Like I said, if you watch the video where I put the machine together, I put it together, I adjusted the rollers slightly just to get it to where it felt as if I had them adjusted properly, and I went with the machine that way. Now, from what I see with these results, to me, this doesn't need adjusting. This machine is perfectly capable of doing anything I need to do the way that it is. If you wanted to be a perfectionist, yes, you could go back and try to get that little bit of variation out of those lines. But in an actual design that you're cutting, it's not going to make that big of a difference. So I'm going to rock with it for now. I have used a machine to do several of my bamboo cutting boards for a customer. It was really dark. I actually had to speed it up to around 140 to 150 millimeters a second to keep from going too deep with the engrave. And by too deep, I mean too deep for what I want it to look like. So far, so good with the machine, guys. And then tonight, I was cleaning up some materials and kind of tidying up the shop a little bit because I've been building stove covers. It's been kind of busy here. And I had some scrap material that I was burning. And I run across some pieces of this like 3/4 inch material that had gotten messed up. And I decided that instead of burning it, I was going to recycle it or upcycle it. And what I usually do, and you may recognize this from an older video, this is a push stick that I just use little short pieces of 3/4 inch material to make my own push sticks. Because, you know, sometimes you may mess up and, gap the end of them up or cut them or break them, or a buddy comes over and steals them, whatever the case may be. But you're always needing these things. So I decided, you know what, I've got the new 30 watt in. These were actually cut with a 20 watt several months ago. So I was like, let me see how the 30 watt stacks up to the 20. These took me 8 passes with an X-Tool D1 20 watt, all right? This one I've made tonight, it took 6 passes, and technically it wouldn't have taken 6 passes, but there was a couple of little small knots, and you'll see the knot right here in the material, and it kind of held there a little bit. But I was able to finish that off with a razor knife and got it out of there, got it sanded up, so I've got me another one. This is the last one that I did, and I ran this 6 passes at 100% at, I think, 5 millimeters a second. Now, this one's not falling out of this material, but guys, this is scrap material. This one's got a little bit of a bow to it. That's one of the reasons that it wound up in the scrap pile. And so it's not perfect material. And with that being said, I've got one little spot right there that's holding this guy into the cut. But with a simple little, couple of presses of the thumbs, this guy comes out. And I'm going to show you the cut. That's what was holding it right there, guys. All right, you can see the burn. You can see that mahogany burn all the way around, and look at the cut surface. I mean, this is almost a 3/4 inch piece of material, and look at the cut surface. Now you're going to get a little bit of charring right there. That's a turn. That's where this thing turns, so it's got to change in direction with the grain. And then right here you've got a little bit of pitting, and that pitting, guys. So if you're ever doing these, do not try cutting something like this and leave it unattended, because it gets really, really hot in there. And that's a little hot pocket. And when you're cutting these things, you'll actually see little embers emitting from the crack if you pay close attention. But altogether, I mean, six passes, 100% power, 5-6 millimeters per second. That is not bad. The amount, the clarity of the cut is what amazes me, guys. This is with the 30 watt, okay? Coincidentally, one of the ones I cut was a 20 watt. I never got around to sanding it down from the previous video. It was just stacked over there in case I needed it. So this is one that came off the 20. This was the D120. And you can see there's a lot more of that pitting going on right here where it's getting really hot in the center. And there's a lot of little snags down through there where it didn't quite cut all the way through. And you'll notice there's a substantial difference in the smoothness of the cut. And look at that pit right there. There was some wood trying to burn on me there. So all in all, guys, I will say this was 8 passes with a 20 watt. This was 6 passes with the 30. So there's a substantial difference in the cut. I'm gonna put these two side by side here and let you look at those. So you can see which one's more brown and which one's more black. So another thing that tells me is with the 20 watt, my risk of fire was greater than with the 20, with the 30. Now, I will say too, my air assist setup has changed a lot since I made those. My air assist works a lot better. My extraction works a lot better. So in all fairness, those also could be variables. But so far, guys, the machine is performing really well. Those are the only issues. If I were to tell longer, and I have told longer, and we'll be sending them an email, the biggest thing that they need to work on is the size of the exit hole in the air assist cone. It's way too big, okay? There was also an issue in the computer setup with it trying to install itself as a different light burn device, a GRBL, another version other than just straight up GRBL, which causes the machine to basically force itself into constant power mode, and that's not something you want. But other than those two things, I really don't have a complaint with the machine. The air assist being automatic is excellent. I love it. It did require some light modifications for me to make it work with the M8 relay. But I figure, I'm going to order some terminals and make me some connectors and some adapters for this so that in the future when machines come in, instead of having to sacrifice that cable and temporarily cut that pigtail off, I can just have a cable made and put it on there. I do have another terminal ordered for their air assist. The terminal, same pins that they're using now, the Aviation 2 pin, and I'm going to replace it on the air assist pump so that it's basically back to factory. And I'll just keep the little short pigtail for an adapter for my M8 relay. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Like I said, don't take my word for it. Go check out my buddy Steve over at Vitari's Workshop. He's got some videos on the longer B120 watt. Also, Steve, I know there's Steves everywhere. Steve over at Steve Makes Everything. He has this exact machine, and I will say I've watched his videos about the 30 watt when I was asked to try it out just to make sure that it was something that would fit into my workflow. And I must say, I agree with Steve on the fact that this is one of the more versatile, one of the better performing lasers that I've had the opportunity to check out in the shop. So if you want to go see what he thinks about it, Steve at Steve Makes Everything, he's one of our neighbors to the north. I think he's in Canada, but he's a really cool guy, really informative, and he's got a review on the same machine. So I'll drop links to those two guys' videos down below if you're doing some research and you want to get some second opinions or third opinions on the machine. If you're interested, there'll be links down below in the description. And stay tuned, hit the subscribe button. You never know what we're going to have to be trying out next. I'm still learning the CNC, still learning the fiber laser, and I've got to get some content going with those, but it's been really busy. So until next time, be safe and have a good day.